So I hop onto the live stream and buy into a 2-5 game for $1,500, and the first hand we look at is pocket kings, and we lose our entire stack for that day, and this is the session 3 hours later. I wanted to share this specific session due to how much tilt and gambling I was doing, so the goal for this video is to reflect on my mistakes, improve, and mold myself into the player that I want to be. So we sit down at the 1-2 table, we buy in for 400, and we look down at our first hand, which is Queen 7 of clubs. We're here playing at Poker House, and at the 1-2 tables, there's a $5 button straddle that is ultimate last action. There's 5 limpers in this hand, and we're in the small blind, and we're going to raise it up to $40 for a squeeze. Every limper folds, but the button decides to put in the call. We go to a magical board, which is 9, deuce, 7, 2 clubs. We have middle pair and a backdoor flush draw. We're going to put out a larger c-bet here out of position. We bet out half the pot, $55, to get protection against any overs, but button decides to snap call. My instinct is that he's on the draw as well, so when the turn comes, another 7, we're feeling great about our hand. We got the board locked up, and I think it's time to set up a bet size to jam the river, so we're going to bet half pot again for $115. With the snap call previously, our opponent has shown a lot of interest in this hand, so we want to charge him to see this river, and we don't want to go too big, so that's why we chose that sizing. Sometimes I like a check here, but we've been showing a lot of aggression on this table, and we want to keep up that flow. Sadly, our opponent folds, but we take down our first pot. In this next hand, we have ace, queen of hearts. There's 4 limps, so there's $20 in the pot, and we're going to raise it up big here since everyone's so interested in playing. We're going to make it $40. We're expecting one person to limp call our raise, but instead we get 3 limp calls. Once all the money's getting put in, we're looking at everyone's stack size, and we're playing effectively only $245. We have everyone covered who's in the pot. And the flop does not disappoint, guys. It comes ace, 10, 3, 2 diamonds. I think multi-way, this is the wrong move, but in the moment, we decide to jam it all in. It looks like a bluff on our side, but we're really at the top of our range. We end up getting snap called by the first opponent, who has $220, and then the smaller stack to his left puts in the money for around $40, and the last opponent decides to fold. So now we have a 3-way all-in. We flip over our cards because we were the first person to put in the money, so we have to show regardless. At this table, I've been really friendly, having a lot of fun, giving action, giving everyone smiles, and just trying to have a good time in general. The turn is the queen of spades. Now we beat ace 10. We're hoping to dodge another diamond, and it does not come. It's the 6 of spades, and both our players end up mucking, and we take down our first massive pot for the night. Around 30 minutes later, after we took out one of those opponents in that all-in hand with ace queen, this new opponent decides to rip it all in with a short stack around $140 over our raise. Now it's time to show you guys what we called with king 10 offsuit. What the hell are you doing? Truly a funky punt, but I wanted to share this moment because this is something coined as winner's tilt, and it's something I do way too often. I lose a lot of my profits by thinking I can just bink every hand that I get, especially if it's a good-looking one, like not this one, obviously. This is not a good-looking hand. This is a horrible hand. So yeah, we put in the money. We run it twice. We hit top 2 pair on the first board. We missed the second, but our opponent shows us pocket kings, and we lose both, and $145 of profit. This is embarrassing, but I think this vulnerability is so important for where I want to be as a poker player, so knowing where I fail and fixing that will help me improve to be who I want. In this next hand, we look down at 4, 3 of clubs. We're on the button. There's a raise to 20 and 1 caller. I'm sensing weakness, and I want to use a suited connector like this as a bluff and not always just raise premium hands. This can be a bit of a stretch. I think 5-6 should be the bottom of my range, but we do decide to put it in the 3-bet squeeze to $75. The original raiser folds, but the caller decides to call again, and now we're going heads up in position to a flop. The flop comes 9-7-5 rainbow. We have a gutter to a straight, and that is it, and I guess a backdoor flush. But this is where it gets interesting. Our opponent decides to lead into us for $25, a very small sizing. When he does this, I'm putting him on a small pocket pair, 4s, 6s, 8s. For this cheap of a price, we're going to put in a call and see if we can take this down on later streets. The turn comes the ace of diamonds. So now we picked up a little bit of equity. We have a double gutter to a straight, and our opponent decides to continue on this card, but he bets small again, $50. I'm sensing weakness, and I think a shove here will get him to fold. He has around $350 behind this bet, and if we put him all in, the only hand he can really call us here with is 2 pair, a set, or an ace. And I think sets and 2 pairs would have bet bigger rather than smaller for protection, especially when this ace hits. So we're going to turn our hand into a bluff, and put them all in. And this is where the hands start getting sweaty. We're putting a massive bluff here with just 4 high. My line looks extremely strong. It looks like I have ace king, ace queen, ace jack, ace 10. Our opponent decides to think for over 2 minutes, but then flips over a card, shows us a 9, and then mucks his cards, and we take down a nice sized pot. We never show him the cards, but I'm glad we got this through. It represented our range and found the opportunity to take the pot. And in this pot, I was playing my A game. I want to make sure I can harness it and leverage it in every poker session I have from here on out. Nothing feels better than a bigger bluff, but here comes one of my biggest flaws to my game, and that is gambling. I decided to put in the blind raise to $25. So in this hand, we just end up raising $30 on the flop, $100 on the turn, and then we look at our cards on the river. We have 6-5 offsuit. We don't have a pair or anything. We check to our opponent, he bets, and we muck. We just literally set money on fire. Like, what is this? Why? Not something I'm proud of, and I just want to share it with you guys. And next time, I'm just going to leave the table when I start doing this. In this next hand, we're under the gun with a $5 straddle on. There's 3 limps, and we decide to raise it up to $40, and we look down at Jack 10 of diamonds. Both the small blind and the big blind put in the call, and we're going to a flop. It comes 10-9, 4, 2 spades, and a diamond. We have top pair, backdoor flush, and straight draw possibilities. Both opponents check to us. We're going to bet on the larger size here. Multi-way, especially in Texas. A lot of people will be drawing on this board or call with smaller pairs, and we want protection from overcards as well. We only end up getting 1 caller going to a turn. The turn is the queen of spades. It's not ideal, better for our range, but the flush draw gets there. We do gain some equity for an open-ended straight draw, but when our opponent checks to us, we're just going to check this back. When the turn comes, the 10 of clubs, and we get trips, our opponent decides to lead into us for $35. I mean, this is so cheap, and I don't think raising here makes any sense. We get called by a lot of hands that beat us, like a low flush draw or even a straight here. I just don't see any merit in squeezing out more value, so we put in the call, and he shows us ace 4 offsuit for bottom pair. All right, so yeah, we take down that nice pot. It feels great. We got a nice flow going. And then a new opponent sits down, a really nice gentleman. Like I said in the beginning, we're having lots of fun. I'm chatting, and I'm giving action, and he says, does anyone want to do a blind flip? I tell him, sure, how much? He says $100. I oblige, and then another opponent decides to hop in the mix, and now we're going 3 ways to a flop. There's 300 in the middle, and we have no clue what's in our hand. We decide to finally look. We have 10-5 offsuit, and the flop comes 9-8-7 2 hearts. We have the 10 of hearts. So we have an open and a straight draw, backdoor straight flush, and flush possibilities. So we decided to put our other opponent, who went in blind for $100, all in. He has $205, and he decides to put in the call, and now we're going to a turn and river. And this is where it gets insane. The opponent who went blind all in has pocket aces, and we just cracked him with runner 2 pair. This has to be the title of this video. This is just the full degen session for Funky Punts. If you'd like to join my poker journey, make sure to subscribe and turn on notifications for more poker vlogs. We decide to switch seats, and we look down at ace king offsuit. We're in the big blind. There's 2 limpers and a raise to 20. Here in Texas, out of position with a premium like this, we're going to go big, especially with the limpers in the pot. We make it $120. After reviewing this, I do like my sizing, but I think it's just a little too large. I think $100 would be much better. But continue with the hand. Both limpers fold, and the button decides to call rather quickly. The flop comes 10, jack, 6, 2 clubs. We have the king of clubs, so we have a gutter and 2 overs to this board, and we find a perfect sizing of $85 for our C bets. We don't need to go large here in a 3-bet pot out of position, especially on a board texture like this. Our opponent calls rather quickly. The turn comes the ace of hearts. I don't have a lot of history with this player, and I don't know what his tendencies are or what kind of hands he'd be holding here. And because of that lack of knowledge, I think we're just going to put in the check here and see what he wants to do on this board texture. We put in the check, and our opponent quickly puts out a bet of $125. This is a great sizing, and we're okay with calling this off. If he has ace 10, ace jack, ace 6, well played. This card can go both ways. It could be great and it could be bad. If he's holding a 6, he just beat us. But if he has jack 10, we just counterfeited his 2 pair. So there's no reason to lead here. We put in the check, and he quickly checks back. He shows us ace 8 of spades, and we take down a nice sized pot with our king kicker. This is the final hand of our tilting degen session, but let it be known to be a great lesson for myself and hopefully for anyone else who can relate to this. I'm not proud of how I played, but I am so grateful for you guys who leave positive comments and critiques. You guys truly help give me an outside perspective on how to be better. So thank you so much for your time and consideration. Let's get into the last hand. And if you'd like to join my poker journey, make sure to subscribe and turn on notifications. So we look down at Jack 10 of spades. We raise it up to $20, and our opponent to the left, who decides to call, is quite hesitant about it and decides to put in the chips. The flop comes more than favorable. It's King 5-10, 2 spades. We have middle pair and a front door flush draw. We decide a little bit of a larger sizing. We pick $25 for our C-bet, and our opponent snap calls with a $25 chip and throws it in. So my history with this opponent so far, he's been calling me down on a lot of streets. He's been beating me a lot of pots, so I want this to be the hand that we take it down, and that will sort of relay to why I made my river decision. The turn is the 10 of hearts. We now have trips. This board is quite locked up. We want to continue here again. He's interested in the pot due to a snap call. So we put in a bet of $65, 2/3 of the pot, and he snap calls again. The river comes the ace of spades. We now have the second nut flush. Only a few hands beat us here. King 10, ace 10, which we block, and then any queen high flush. This opponent has had a tendency to call me down light, and he's just always had it against me. I'm not very proud on how I played this, but I want my line to look like a bluff, and maybe he could snap call me with like a slow played ace king hand, or, you know, he has king queen of some sort. So we decide to rip it all in. He has around $325, so we go over the pot. And he decides to dive into the tank, and when he does this, we're hoping for a call, because if he doesn't snap call, we know that we're winning now, and I'm happy with my line, especially if he does decide to put in the chips, and we get way too greedy trying to squeeze a little extra value against a smaller flush or some non-believing king. Next time, we're going to make it 1/3 pot for value, but that will end the session. But the results for today is that we're down 200, and we climbed out of the hole, which felt so good. Thanks for watching, and make sure you guys subscribe to follow my poker journey. And if you guys want to play with me online, make sure to join the Cheddar Club. The link is in my bio. I'm playing there at least 3 times a week. Use the referral code funkypunts to get a bonus, and I'm not lying, there is action on this club. You're gonna love it.